Hey, good afternoon, everybody. It is the Two Talking Fools. We are just two average, and I mean average
Yo,
girls taking their phone calls to the podcast. And as you can tell, it's just me today on the mic. I wanted to come on. This is Kate, by the way. And I just wanted to kind of come on and recap the year that we had on the podcast and kind of give you just an overview. And if anything, just a light conversation as we head into 2026, which it's really hard to believe that we're there. The year itself, I know at least for me, has felt like it has just flown by. And I don't know if that's because of how busy the world is these days. Everybody's got a lot on their plate. Everybody's working harder because you have to. And so I think maybe what happens is when your life gets busier, you tend not to stay present, and I think when you tend not to stay present is when you tend not to make those memories that will last in your brain for a lifetime. I think the year overall was it was just it was it was difficult. I think for some, it was like being in survival mode, emotionally, financially, mentally, while others, flourished. I think normalizing both of those experiences is valid and they have to exist side by side. If I take myself, for instance, there's been many years where I felt like there's been deep struggle, and then there's been many years to balance that have been a little bit lighter. And one thing on the podcast that Shaba and I try to express often, whether it's the type of content that we're putting out and bringing to you guys or just talking every day, is just to go easy on yourself and to know that you're not alone. We get a lot of messages, whether it's in the email, our email to talkingfools at gmail.com, or if it's, through social media. The messages that we get, there's just a lot of people that find little bits of joy through the content that we provide. And maybe it just creates like a diversion. And so we know we're very aware, and of course, we have our own lives and we deal with our own trials and tribulations as well. But I think one of the things that if Shaba were on, and the only reason we're not together today is because we're working, and I'm actually taking my lunch break to do this podcast. But I think it's important for you to know that if this was a year of discouragement, if this was a year that left you yet again in survival mode and you're going into 2026 kind of just worried and feeling alone and helpless and all those things and looking for bright spots, I want you to know that you're not alone. And Shaba and I, we have this podcast, this is our platform, but our goal has always been to make this is our passion project and to try to help people and reach people and do whatever we can to bring light and good into the world. And so again, I just want to express that. If you're listening to me right now and you're at work, or you're listening to me and you're at the gym, or you're driving home or driving to work, I want you to know that maybe we don't talk every day, you and I, or you and I and Shaba. Maybe you've never reached out to the podcast, but I want you to know that you are not alone. And this roller coaster of life, you got two fools behind you because we really do get it. We're not immune to the trials and tribulations, and a podcast, like I said, is just a place for us to chat. So I hope you know that. I hope you're easy on yourself. You know, when you talk about like the survival versus flourishing, I think for survival, I think it really looked like people were financially. I know people, definitely are in survival mode, but it's also very important to not look too much into social media. We've talked about this many times on the podcast, but we all do this where we see other people's posts. We see other people going on vacation. We see people doing this, doing that. Maybe it discourages you. Maybe it brings up some type of emotions. And I think the most important thing to remember is that your journey in this life is yours alone. And while, sometimes you may wonder why your life looks like the way it does, I do believe that there's a reason and a purpose. And I believe that it's a mission and you're here to learn something while you're here. But the world 2025 has been difficult. It's been a difficult one, and I'm looking forward to 2026. I want to talk to you guys a little bit about New Year's resolutions. Do you believe in resolutions or do you believe in intentions? This is a topic that I was looking into earlier. With resolutions, everybody's planning for those that believe in resolutions, everybody's planning their resolutions now. And I don't think everybody's ready for that of they're just not ready for that type of pressure, that type of commitment. Where I feel like sometimes if you look at it where resolutions add pressure, intentions add boundaries. With intentions, you don't fall off, but you return to that intention. And so I think for this year, I'm going to be setting a lot of intentions. One intention I can tell you right off the bat is the intention of staying present more and making memories. You know, I feel like a lot of times I'm pushed in a lot of different directions, and so everything feels very discombobulated, but I am going to try to work on my intention of giving whatever's in front of me, it's my undivided attention and move from one undivided attention to another versus just taking on so much and just sifting through it over time, getting discombobulated, getting confused, feeling like I'm overwhelmed. I do definitely see that. Some of the most popular New Year's resolutions, let's talk about them because I think we can create a scenario where it's not a resolution, but an intention. So here's some of the most popular New Year's resolutions. Number one, get healthier. And that's so true because health is wealth. I think everybody does. I know I certainly do. One of the intentions I want to set this year is to lift more weights and get my body back. I kind of let it go this year. Number two, save money or reduce debt. That's an obvious. That's an obvious. Money is an obvious resolution for everybody. One thing I was talking about the other day, it could have been Shab. I can't remember who I was talking to, but acknowledging how much things add up. For instance, Dunkin' Donuts, going to get a coffee every morning, going to get breakfast versus making it. Now, I'm not here to preach to you because you will see me in those lines often, even though my intention for 2026 is to get back to making lunch, making coffee at home, bringing it to work. It feels good versus always just opening up that debit card and you forget when you swipe and you swipe and you swipe. I think part of the issue with money is that we've gotten so far away from touching money, using money, transferring money, understanding the relationship with money. And now it's turned into everybody has a card. And so I think there would be more respect with money if we kind of remembered exactly how hard it is to make a dollar and how easy it is to swipe that credit card or that debit card and how quickly that money goes out. So saving money or reduce debt, I'm all about that. My intention this year is going to be, like I said, try to make my lunch more often, not eat out as much, and really look at those like $5 and under charges, your coffees, whatever drinks you get, protein drinks, acai bowls, all those things. Definitely going to look into that. Number three, protect your mental health. Cannot talk about this enough. Cannot talk about this enough. We did a lot of mental health talk this year on the podcast. We're going to do a lot more, bring on more guests, but we're also going to bring on guests to talk about men's mental health, which we really do feel like women are talked about a lot when it comes to mental health, but I think we need to get men involved in this conversation too. So we're going to have some roundtable discussions. If you guys remember, we did a food review up at Stillwater Grill in Stafford Springs, Connecticut. It's the old Munn's Pub. And we were talking to Jordan, who is a waiter there, and we were talking about men's mental health. Now, Jordan, I think, is in his 20s, let's say mid 20s. And hearing him was really eye opening and enlightening because you learn things that you didn't necessarily know before, especially as a woman talking about men's mental health. That comes with its own, set of things that I just don't understand enough about, but I do see the need to talk about it. Mental health is so important your mental health, and I'm speaking for me, mental health kind of dictates how your life is, and your outlook on life and everything. It's like the nucleus. When you're good mentally, just like you are good physically, kind of everything is good. And so whatever you have to do, whatever we have to do to protect our mental health, those are the intentions that we need to set in 2026. For me, I'm going to be doing the same. Couple ways that I'm going to try to work on the mental health intention is one thing I do, talking with Crosswinds Collaborative and Leanne Rickey, who's been a sponsor of the show, who's been on the show, who has her own business, the Well House in Summers. We're in talks with her. She's got some great programs, some Bible studies, some small groups coming up. That's where I want to get. I want to get closer to God. I want to learn more about the Bible. That's something that I've never had a chance to, or maybe I've never really felt the need. But the more I see about it, the more I want to learn. And I'm excited about that. And I think all of that spirituality, mental health, it's exciting. So those are a couple ways that I'm going to work on my mental health. The other thing I'll say too, this is a side note, we like I said earlier, we tend to compare ourselves and look at everything. And I think that comparison game is really, really dangerous because when you start that comparison game, I think that's where you can fall on your own criticism or criticism that you create based on the comparisons that you're creating for yourself. And so I would tell you, and I'm going to take this also because I have our time. This is I'm going to stay off of social media a little bit. I'm not going to try not to over analyze, keep my intentions where I see things, move on, and maybe not, do that comparison. So mental health, I think is a great one. Another one, most popular New Year's resolution, spend more time with loved ones. Yeah. You know who did she did a couple segments on this on her podcast, Mel Robbins. And she broke it down in such a scary way. She broke down, her parents don't live near her, so, you have to travel to go see them, and how many weekends are left if you had this much time or this or that. And when you break it down, the reality is you really don't have that much time. And so I think that one of the things that I realized this year, especially with the loss of some dear loved ones, we as a family, we took some real big hits. And I think it's really important to spend the time, learn the history of your family, listen to the stories, because you'll start to see families evolve where this new generation is taking over as the other generation, you know, moves on. I think it's really important to set that intention to spend time with people you care about because time is fleeting. Time is not forever. And there will be a time where you don't have any other chances. So I think instead of carrying the guilt of that and looking back and saying, oh my gosh, just lead your life with intention now and make that time. Change jobs or find purpose. Yeah, I totally get that. Your job is a huge part of your life. You spent the majority of your time working and purpose in life. Purpose. The Two Talking Fools podcast started back in 2024, July of 2024. And we didn't really know exactly what was happening. We had started this thing where Shab and I would go out dancing. We would make dance videos, TikTok videos or whatever. And we would do them throughout town, different businesses. And it was fun. People really enjoyed them. And then I think we wanted something a little bit more. We knew we had good chemistry together. We're friends. So that's when it got colder, we're like, well, we can't really dance that much, so we might as well talk. The Two Talking Fools podcast, though very funny, both in name and what we do, for us, it really was a passion project. I feel good when I'm doing good or giving back, or if we can touch people, or if we can make people smile or make their day brighter, however that is, with whatever content we deliver, whether it's the interviews or not. So, finding purpose. I found a very deep purpose with the podcast, and it has really helped change my life So for all of you that send the messages and stuff, if we don't get back to you right away, I apologize for that, but I want you to know that we do read every message. And it means so much that you guys open up to us, stuff that I won't share here, but we see you, whatever, you give us purpose too. Just knowing that there's people all around the world that wait for us, that wait for that new podcast to come out because it's relatable content, because it makes you feel like you're seen, you're heard, or maybe it brings something new to your life. That's what it is. So what I would say to you is, again, leading 2026 with intention is find out what your purpose is, because you do have purpose, because you do have a reason. You are more than you could ever imagine. I really believe that for people. I really believe people are more, but sometimes your life, whatever parameters the world has put on you, you can't see that. One of the things I think that is overlooked the most when it comes to making change or making purpose, whichever one you throw around. I work retail when I'm not at the podcast, do have a job, and I can tell you that it is truly as simple as not brushing somebody off when they talk to you, looking them in the eye, learning their first name, shaking their hand, showing some warmth, showing you care. A lot of times, if you're in retail, you're in sales, you'll realize it's not always about the product. It's really about the service, and it's really about the connection you make. So your purpose could be just by going down to your local grocery store and calling the person at the register by their first name and getting to know them a little bit. So when you go in there, they kind of know you. People just want to be seen. People are lonely. And your purpose doesn't have to be anything grandioso. Your purpose does not have to be a podcast. Your purpose does not have to be, it doesn't have to be that. Some of the biggest change that we make or we feel we make are the messages that we receive that we won't ever talk about. So we talked about this one. This is another one. Obviously, be more present. I think we started right off with that. Learning something new. I love this. I love this. I've appreciated as I mature, maybe my 20s, I didn't always, but my 30s, my 40s, late 30s into my 40s, learning something new. What a gift. There's so much to learn. There's so much to take in. If you realize that life is for you to take by the horns, there's just so much you can learn and grow and expand your mind, especially with the time in this earth world that we're here. What do you want to do? What do you want to learn? Could you imagine there's so much you don't know? So many things you don't even realize you want to know. Again, to align it with the podcast, we've had a lot of incredible, incredible interviews since we're talking about learning something new. 2025 was huge for the podcast. I think the first one, again, we talk about learning something new. Anthony Arulada, we had him early on. That was an awesome podcast. He was, one of the mob bosses for the Genovese family. He kind of handled all Springfield, Connecticut. That's one you learn something new. That was an awesome interview. We go back to Lala's story, which for us was one of the first interviews to really take off. And that story right there, everybody should listen to that story. Then we had Felicia on, and her story, it's so deeply human and emotional. And, the resilience and the rebuilding that came from her story is something that if you're struggling, you should listen to it. Then we had Bob Ginsberg. A lot of you guys remember him from that Netflix show. I totally forgot what it was on here. I will put it in there, but I always miss this one up. But Bob Ginsberg was the expert we talked about with the afterlife. He was the one where he lost his daughter in a car accident and the premonition that his wife had before that, or it was that or the day of. I think it was the day of, actually. That was a deeply powerful one, especially for those losing people, or you're afraid, or understanding the other side. That's something that in 2026 we're definitely going to talk more about and get more guests on. The afterlife, what does it look like? It's something I think about all the time. Most recently, you guys, we did Jeff Pearlman and we had him on. He was so gracious with his time. and that was to go over his book, All Eyes on Me: The Many Lives of Tupac Shakur. So, that was an awesome book. Learned a lot there. Learned a lot about Jeff, as an author and things like that. So, I for 2026, the intention is to bring more, learn more, grow your mind, and we certainly did that with a lot of great interviews this year. Travel more. A lot of people wanna travel more. I do too. I do too. But, I don't know if your parents, listening out there, but do you ever feel like sometimes traveling ends up being like more work than anything? That's kind of how I feel right now in my life. And it's not the reason we haven't traveled as much as I'd like is just because of life. So I want to do some more traveling, and hopefully the podcast this year gets us traveling too. We have some exciting things, but I'm going to hold off on that for now. This one here, set boundaries, one of the most popular New Year's resolutions. Setting boundaries. We don't do enough of it. And I think a reason a lot of us get upset or frustrated with people and things is because we don't set boundaries. We don't know how to set boundaries. We don't know how to be polite and set boundaries. We feel that boundaries are, I guess, rude. I'm not sure. We can even dive into that into another episode, but I do know one thing. There needs to be boundaries in your life. If you don't set boundaries and people are overstepping in your life and you're feeling that and you have angst and the anxiety and the frustration and the anger and this, it really falls on you because if people don't know, they can't change. And so sometimes I think that we rely too much on, and this myself included, that people should just know or acknowledge or this, that. It doesn't always work like that. So setting boundaries, very important. It's very important for your mental health. It's very important for your life. It's very important for you, how you operate and where you want people in your life. Because if you have the wrong energy or you have the wrong things around you, that can weigh and play so deeply into your life, and it's important. Setting boundaries. And last but not least, letting go of toxic relationships. Can't even emphasize this enough. Toxic relationships will wear you down and they can deteriorate other aspects of your life that you might not even be able to see the correlation of and between. So figure out, remove the toxicity, whether it's the relationship altogether or you have a conversation. But I think that's really, really important. Sometimes we don't let go of things quick enough. We hold on to them and it in turn causes more issue and trauma and this and that. So, yeah, those are your most popular New Year's resolutions. And I agree with them. I agree with them. I agree with the intentions. And that's why I would say and encourage to consider intentions instead of resolutions, you know, and suggest that one word for the year, the one thing to stop doing, one thing to protect, and one thing to be gentle about or gentler about. So think about that. What would your word be? Suggest one word for the year. Stop one thing, protect one thing, or one thing to protect, one thing to stop doing, and one thing to be gentler with. When we had the opportunity to go down to Crosswinds, when we had the opportunity to go to the Well House and meet with Leanne and have her on the podcast, we were doing some short exercises, and we're kinda come up with, like, we're trying to come up with a word for the year. My word ended up being impact, and I was so happy to get that because that's what I want for me. My word is my impact. What is my impact going to be? What's my impact? What's my legacy? And then I've also been playing with this term, my impact score. What is my impact score? What am I doing to create a better impact or give a better impact or be a better impact for those around me, my life, everything. So thinking of that word is important. So my word this year is impact, and I'd love to know yours if you decide to come up with one. We talked a little bit about, the podcast, the year in review. The interviews were awesome. You guys were awesome. You guys sent us so many great messages. We just learned a lot and had a lot of fun doing it, and I know you guys did too. It's just you guys are so supportive. Have a lot to share for the upcoming year. I have a lot of goals for the podcast, for Shaba, and I know Shaba's got her own set of goals too. I just don't wanna say too much and add pressure with the or overpromise, but we have a lot. We have a lot that's gonna be happening in 2026, and I cannot wait for some of this to come to fruition, and I'm really glad that you guys are with us, so there's that. Guys, we're at 27 minutes. For some reason, you guys are some of the people I'm able to just come on and talk and chat, and yeah, I just wanna thank you guys. I started this with Shab. I started this and, got Shab aboard, and I never really thought that it would be where it is today. Work really hard. People don't see the work that goes into this, and it's work that like, we love to do because it feels good to give back, however that is, and it feels good to know that you can make an impact on somebody. You know, it's just all the good that you can do in life, Not perfect, made a lot of mistakes, but this feels right, and you guys as an audience and as friends and as you just have been so loyal to us. You've been our ride or dies this past year. You've been there for every highlight of the podcast. You've been there through some of the lulls. We've certainly had it. What people fail to realize is sometimes, we have our own personal lives too. Sometimes it's tricky to come on a podcast and, talk and do this when your life's not great, you know? And just like everybody, we have highs and lows. And so whether you can always tell or not, you guys are there with us a lot too. Sometimes the podcasts that we talk about, sometimes they reflect a little bit about what's going on with us. So as much as it seems like we're talking to you, I do want you to know that if we didn't have the audience to give us back the feedback, if we didn't know that we were doing things right as a podcast with our audience, we wouldn't keep doing it. And so thank you. Thank you for the comments. Thank you for the time. Everybody that bought merchandise, thank you, because that's how we keep going. Running a podcast is not free, not even close. So thank you. With that said, I wish Shaba was here with me, but I wanted to just come on and anyways talk to you and just tell you how thankful that we are for you. We love you all very much. If you know somebody that might like the podcast, you want to share it with them, great. Stay tuned. That's all I got. I wish you guys well. I wish 2026 to be a much better year than 2025. I know a lot struggled. I know a lot flourished. You can always reach out to us. We are not going anywhere. twotalkingfools@gmail.com. You can visit our website for updates and just kind of like everything about us at the twotalkingfools.com. And also we're on TikTok, Instagram, and Facebook, YouTube. You can always message us there. So on behalf of Shaba and I want to wish you guys a happy new year. We will be seeing you bright and early into the new year with all new episodes that are ready to go. Other than that, take care, treat each other well, and we will talk to you soon.
Talk nonsense with conviction. Ladies and gentlemen, Shaba, Kate, two talking fools.
I'm the loudmouth legend, the static crack transmitter spitting hot takes heavier than the